Hey guys, Banana Luck here. Welcome back to another Watcher of Realms video. We are back on the test servers today and we have a couple of new heroes to take a look at. Mainly built towards the new Infernal buffs that we've seen on Sokedins. So now we're getting a couple of new units, and I think any time from now we should be expecting the new Infernal Lord. But the first unit we're going to take a look at is not an Infernal unit, but is instead a Piercer Northerner. So we have Akira here, and apparently this chick is Satram's daughter. So I don't know how that works out, machine and all, but yeah, this is what we have. And looks like a very interesting unit, but let's take a look at her intro video first of all. There's no sound. So you're going to see her battling out Satram here, probably doing some practice or test runs. And then you get a glimpse of what the hero is all about in a second here, where she splits up into a clone. And then you will see her switching back again. And yeah, that's just a glimpse of what she actually does. And yeah, really cool unit. I mean, just based off a first look. I always enjoy new mechanics, especially the ones like this where, you know, there's some bit of complexity. Hopefully when we test this unit out, she is going to do some decent work. Now, let's take a look at her base stats. So this is the standard Piercer range for any Marksman. It's going to get extended when you run her with a Piercer lot, obviously. Also paired with the Northerners as well, so probably going to be somewhat useful in Matrix if I had to guess. And then we have the base stats here, 3.9k, not too shabby. And then yeah, very standard stuff. Attack interval is slightly on the higher side, but we'll see in her kit if there's any reduction to make up for that. And the cost is at 22, so that's pretty high. I was thinking perhaps she might be useful in Arena somewhat, but it looks like that's not going to be the case with a cost of 22. And now let's take a look at the talent. Immediately gains 1 Phantom. What does Phantom do? It's a separate unit. You have to deploy it. So initial cost is 12. Reduces cost by 1 every 3 seconds while in the deployment bar, which means after you create the Phantom, the cost will keep reducing down to a minimum cost of 5. And then when deployed, inherits 100% of hero's attributes and basic attack. And after 15 seconds, removes self. If the hero is about to take fatal damage, immediately triggers the remover and hero becomes immune to damage for 3 seconds. So pretty interesting. You can see how that played out in the video earlier where we saw her intro, where she can switch around so the Phantom can actually take fatal damage in her place instead. But as a result, the Phantom will actually die instead, so that sounds about right. And yeah, 100% stats, so it's basically going to do whatever she does on the main hero. And then gains another Phantom every 60 seconds. When the hero or Phantom kills an enemy, reduces the cooldown by 1 second up to a maximum reduction of 30 seconds. So it's going to be a 50% uptime at best when it comes to having the Phantom up. And then yeah, before gaining the next Phantom, only one can exist at a time, and when it is deployed, increases the Phantom and the hero's attack by 15%, and all their damage has a 10% chance to inflict Winter's Bite for 5 seconds. So that's rather interesting. And it's the first Piercer we have that inflicts Winter's Bite. And during the hero's ultimate, Phantom can also trigger Missile Barrage. We'll find out what this is in a second here. Now, AoE physical attack. Randomly deals 40% AoE damage to enemies in range 3 times, hitting up to 5 enemies each time. So that's gonna be basically, I don't know, is it 3 times 5 hits? Not sure, but it's all AoE damage. The multiplier is not the highest because she does do quite a couple of attacks here, so it'll be interesting. But that's a lot of hits, so maybe there's something that she triggers off basic attacks. Alright, passive during the ultimate continuously deals 20% damage to random enemies in range, and the damage is doubled to enemies with Winter's Bite or Freeze. the more enemies in the attack range, the higher the trigger frequency. So it sounds like the more units that are in range, the more Missile Barrage does in terms of damage. And don't forget, the Phantom can also trigger Missile Barrage. But I guess you have to deploy the Phantom and then use the ultimate immediately for this to actually take effect. And second passive, each attack launched by the hero restores 1% rage. And when the hero has a shield, each attack restores a 0.5% extra rage and applies rage regen to adjacent allies. So the extra rage goes up to 1.5%. So adjacent allies, that'll be quite tricky to deploy, but I think we could work something out. There is potential here, definitely. We might, in fact, even get to replace Earlis. I don't know. We might get to replace Earlis and then just use Gwendolyn only in the Spellsbane Matrix just because of this passive. So that's a very interesting one. And 1.5% rage, that's actually quite a lot. And then Core Release, this is the ultimate. So the skill cost goes down to 700, initial of 500, and it lasts for 15 seconds. During the ultimate, reduces the interval. There we go. We said the interval of 3 seconds was slightly high, so the ultimate reduces that. Attacks have an increased damage range. We need to check out what the increased range is. Can hit 3 additional targets, and the damage against Winter's Bite or Freeze increases by 100%. So it's not a damage boost, it just triggers more hits instead. And I think once you see all the intervals and everything adding up together, it looks like this unit is a blitz sort of unit where she does a lot of instances of damage, not like big chunks of damage at one go. And the more hits she does, the more Winter's Bite and Freeze she can actually inflict. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, she also has a skin, a pretty cool one, because it just completely transforms what she looks like. If you see her in this skin, you wouldn't have even guessed that this chick is a lady, is the daughter of Satram. Just really different from what we see. Alright, now let's move on to the Awakenings. She does have an exclusive artifact, we will touch on that in a bit. When the Phantom is deployed, immediately enters Core Release. So it means that whenever the Phantom is put down, it immediately goes into the ultimate mode. So that's a very big awakening, considering that it's a 40% interval decrease. Now, does it work on the main hero? No idea. We'll have to test that out. But yeah, that's starting off with a very, very strong awakening. And then A2, that's flat attack. A3, during the ultimate, after every 2 basic attacks, the next basic attack deals 3 additional instances of damage. Now, it probably means that it does 3 more of the 50% hits. I don't think it does. Yeah, I don't think there's no more specifics here for us to tell. But that is still quite a big one, as it basically doubles the amount of hits she does. A4 is going to be penetration. A5, Missile Barrage deals AoE damage to up to 5 enemies at once. So Missile Barrage used to do what? I don't know how many enemies this is. This is once again Munton's spaghetti coding. No specifics. But if let's say this only does damage to 1 enemy at the moment, then this AoE damage up to 5 enemies is going to be quite a big deal. So very interesting unit. I really wonder if she's going to be a limited, because we have never had a limited marksman before. This might be the first one, but just on first glance, her kit looks really interesting. Lots of damage instances coming out, Winter's Bite and all that as well. So there's going to be quite a fair bit of control. And the ultimate has increased damage range. So I wonder if she will be remotely useful for anti-air arena. I don't know. We have to test it out, but yeah, that's the first look at Akira. And if we just go into the artifacts list here, I just want to show you guys her artifact first. So yeah, there we go. McCall. Akira's exclusive, increases AoE damage by 20%, and after the hero deals damage to the target inflicted with Winter Spite or Freeze, increases attack by 8% for 10 seconds. And let's see what happens when we promote it. I think it just goes up in terms of the AoE damage increase. So yeah, that's a quick look at Akira. Now, we're going to test her in a few bits of content here next. I think one new thing I want to do is that I think my videos currently are too long. So I'm going to do some basic testings for Akira, take a look at her mechanics, her awakenings, and then following that we'll have another video to talk specifically about the areas of the content where she's actually good at. So yeah, let's move on to that. Okay, so we've done quite a fair bit of testing with Akira, and now we're gonna show some of the findings that we've had. We're not gonna test him in content just yet. We're just gonna take a look at mechanics in closer detail. Take a look at what the awakenings mean as well, and some of the special things that I found out when, you know, testing her and her awakenings, as well as the skills, how do they all actually operate. Now, the first thing that I was trying to test out was to see if all her hits are considered basic attacks, because if they all are, then it's going to be pretty obvious that Infernal Roar will be the best, the best type of gear for her. If it's not, then you'll probably go towards something like Soul Bound Arcana. And then we're also going to take a look at the rate regen, and then most importantly, see her awakenings and, you know, how big they are in terms of damage output. Now, let's get into this, and we'll see whether she lifesteals off all of her hits. Because based on her kit, it looks like she's just all basic attack. Nothing special except for that Missile Barrage. So we saw that was all basic attacks. That's all her basic attacks still. I'm trying to get the Missile Barrage to proc, but clearly it's not happening just yet. I might need to turn on the ultimate for it to proc more often. Yeah, it's just 3 hits there, so let's turn on the ultimate there. So you can see that's the normal 3 hits that we get. Okay, that's the small hit. Aha, there you can see only the main hit actually gets the lifesteal. So that's how we find out what kit will work best on her. So clearly from this alone, you can tell that, you know, Missile Barrage is not going to be affected by Infernal Roar, which means that preferably we want to run her in, you know, Soul Bound Arcana instead. I don't think Hell's Lament will work, but who knows. Alright, so that's the first bit of testing done. Now we're going to take a look at how Rage Regen works on her and how it affects the allies around her. Hit into this, we're just restarting a fresh run. Have a closer look. So pause here and let's put down Gwendolyn here. That's the most consistent type of shielding that we can provide. She's doing her hits here, but I don't see the Rage Regen popping up. Yeah, I thought it would be on whether or not shields and whatnot, but doesn't seem to be activating. Oh. What's going on? Let's take a look at the kit again, see what it means. Did we not get the right trigger mechanics? Based on the description, it just said, yeah, each attack launch restores 1% rage, and when the hero has a shield, it restores extra 1% and applies rage regen to allies. So I'm not too sure what happened there, why it's not triggering right over here. Because it should. it should restore rage no matter what. And we put down the shielders again. Let's put Yoga on the side. The ultimate? Is it dependent on ultimate? Doesn't look like it. Okay, now we get a rage regen proccing. But that's probably Gwendolyn's, because it's 2% rage per second. And for some reason, hers is just not working at all. So I have to do more testing here, because I recall seeing it on my last test, but yeah, for some reason it's not proccing anymore. Now, next thing I want to have a look before we go into the Awakenings is the ultimate that she has. So, core release, it doesn't say anywhere in her kit whether or not the clone actually gets it. It just says that during the ultimate, the clone can also trigger Missile Barrage. So let's have a quick look here. It becomes pretty obvious once you put her A1, because you will see that during her ultimate, her projectiles change color. So if we just put both of them down here, you can see the projectile is blue. So on the ultimate it turns red, but on the clone we didn't see any of that going on. And let's just restart there. I'll do another run where if let's say we just prop her ultimate only when the clone comes out, we'll see if that turns the bullets red. Because that will tell us obviously whether or not it's working. It's going to take one quick minute to get there. But yeah, I'm still not seeing a rage regen proccing, so I'm not sure what's going on there. We'll need to investigate more. Alright, so if it functions the same as Pier, it could be that we need to cast the ultimate before she gets the clone up, which you can see right here. But no, even then, the bullet stays blue, which tells you that you can't actually, trigger it on the clone no matter what. It has to be from the A1. And the other annoying thing is that you can't actually select the clone. So you can see right there that we also couldn't place any other units to stack on top of that. So that's probably one of the things that will feed back to the devs to get them to, take a look and see what we can do there. And now let's move on to the Awakenings, and you'll see very clearly when, the ultimate is actually taking place, because at her A1, if you can see right over here, the Phantom, when deployed, immediately enters core release. So it means that every time the clone is summoned, it will enter the ultimate right away. So we'll just put that in with the artifact so we have a fair comparison between the two. And yeah, you can see there you go, the red bullets. So faster attacks as well, which tells you that the ultimate is the core release is working. And yeah, so there's no way to actually trigger core release on the Phantom at all. That's what I found. The only way to trigger it is to actually have the A1, which makes it much more impactful. And it also debunks the fact that having the A1 will activate ultimate on the main unit as well, which I was thinking of. It looks like they are both separate. And it is good because if we're looking at using her in Matrix specifically, it tells you for sure that the only way you get to maximize her damage is during her ultimate. So having her not doing as much damage off ultimate alone with the clone, that is actually a very good sign. Now let's take a look at the Missile Barrage now, because that's the other thing I was very interested in. It says that during the ultimate, continuously deals 30% damage to random enemies in range, and the more enemies in the attack range, the higher the trigger frequency. So we want to have a quick look here, see what we are looking at in terms of the frequency, like what they are referring to. So we're gonna have a bunch of units here. Let me just find another one. Bring in, maybe we bring in the octopus here. And let's see what we are getting. So just now in the playtest that we were doing against the guild boss, we saw one missile barrage each. Now we want to see the threshold to actually get that to up to speed. So let's start off with 2 units. We'll see if that threshold increases. Get the ultimate there. That's the 3 attacks that's being launched. And yeah, you can see there's one more extra op coming out. Now, I don't think the crypts will spawn fast enough for us to see the extra ops. So let's bring in 4 guys now. And yeah, we still don't see the rich regen coming out here. I'm gonna get another round of ultimates. And maybe from here we'll be able to see whether I get the extra op. And I saw 2 ops there. 1, 2, 3. So on 4 units, 4. It could be that every unit gets that extra op. Yeah, it definitely works when you have more units in the way. And now we have 4 units, 5 units now. Now we try to see whether or not we get even more procs from that. So 6 units now. I'm going to deploy the octopus on the side as well. Two, 3. Only 3 bullet procs. Probably get another prop here. 1, 2, 3. It looks like the maximum is 3, no matter what. But yeah, it's still gonna be the reason why you want to use her. And it looks like 4 units is where the bonus actually picks up. So let's try this again. We'll put 4 of these guys. I'll get another prop here. This should trigger the missile barrage. 1, 2, 3. 3 hits. So that's correct. Now we'll dumb it down a bit. We'll use 3 units instead. Now we see if we still get the 3 procs, and that will tell us for sure. Nope, it looks like you need 4 units to actually activate everything. One more unit here. Oh, now there's 3 units. Maybe it's to do with the fact that just now all the units were not in range yet. Yeah. Alright, so that's enough testing. Definitely interesting kit. Because the multipliers are so low, it looks like she needs to actually do damage to a lot of different units for her to max out. Because you do also need Winter Spike or Freeze on the units to maximize the damage. Now in GVG for sure, she's not going to be the best unit there because you can't actually deploy the Phantom. But it is interesting to see how it works out, and definitely have to feedback to them that Phantom should be able to be removed, because otherwise it just makes it such that, you know, once you spawn something there, it just blocks out everything entirely. And that will also tell you why Missile Barrage is quite strong at A5, because instead of dealing just single target damage to one unit, it's going to do AoE damage instead, which is why it makes it such a big boost. And then A3 is just extra damage that's coming out, and then A1, that's the one where we've tested to make sure that, you know, core release actually is only activated through the A1. In other cases, you won't be able to activate it at all. Alright, so we're back with another video for Akira, and this time around we're gonna be taking a quick look at her in Matrix, because that's obviously the place that is most suited for her, given that she's all about AoE, and she does have pretty good timings, in a sense that you can keep her damage off by not popping her ultimate. And then you also have the Phantom that can be deployed only during the Pack of Silence. The only issue I've had so far with testing her out is that the Phantom doesn't seem to come back in time. It does miss one of the waves. So still trying to play around that. Perhaps when this hero actually comes to live server, people will figure a better way to, you know, utilize her such that she does not have any downtime, because the Phantom does do quite a bit of damage, and it boosts both her attack as well as, you know, the Phantoms. So we are gonna be replacing Astrid from this team. We're gonna run Guan Yu instead, and last time around when we did it with Guan Yu, we did about 80k. So I think anything higher than that should be a good enough, you know, ballpark to say whether or not this hero is better. We did replace Lady Mina, because given that she has been reworked or rather fixed, she's not going to be doing as good damage as she does before. So let's head in. And we'll start off by placing these heroes down. So because we're replacing Akira with we're replacing Lady Mina and Akira, we're going to put her on the left side. And how we're going to do this is first Akira down. And let's do Guan Yu. Go. We can do Adrian. Sorry, let's do Elder first. And then let's do Valderon. And we're just going to deploy Gwendolyn at a later stage here. Go. Now we just wait for second focus strike to hit before we do anything. So once that's up, I'm gonna proc all the ultimates here. And now I'm gonna put Akira's clones on the left. No, we're gonna do right side here. And then a Pack of Silence up. So we're gonna pop Adrian's ultimate at the end. Let's see what's the stacks that we end up on here. 6 stacks was the lowest that we got to there. And yeah, now we're done. Now we just rinse and repeat. The only thing that's gonna change is we're gonna use Guan Yu's, Adrian's ultimate earlier from the 4th wave onwards. Go. That's all the ultimates. Akira's. Clone. The Gwendolyn chew down. Is where you start to see that we're going to be slightly slower on the ultimates. And I can see Ardea doesn't have an ultimate here, so I'm going to put the Phantom on the left instead. So you can actually put out more damage there instead. This Guan Yu and Adrian up top should be sufficient. So almost halfway done, we're about 50k score. That's fairly alright. It's a good sign. Shields. Once that ultimate is over, I'm gonna pop everything else. This time around, Ardea has an ultimate, so we're gonna switch back to the right. Another focus strike here. Pop the ultimate out earlier. And now we're gonna proc that. If Akira doesn't get her ultimate up in time here. Sorry, her Phantom. This is the part that I mentioned earlier where there's gonna be a bit of downtime. Oh, okay, came back in time, so we're just gonna place it down still. We have ultimates on the left, so we're gonna do it on the right instead. That's done. So now we just have to take out the second focus strike here. Then we're gonna pop the ultimates. See, this time around we are missing the clone. So it's not coming up in time. We're not getting enough kills in a sense to, you know, get it up in time. So we'll see. We place the clones a bit later now. See if that still works out time-wise. Now we're gonna pop all the ultimates here. Last wave here, unfortunately, Ardea doesn't have an ultimate up. So, be lacking damage slightly. Should get Akira's clone up soon, but yeah, it's a bit too late there. Maybe it was worthwhile to pop our ultimate earlier or something. But yeah, that's the score, 84k. I mean, by my standards, for what I do in Matrix, I think that is fairly reasonable. There is definitely more tinkering that we can do with Akira to get better timings, but right now, with what I know about her, that's the best that I can do. You just take a look at damage charts here. She's fairly behind. Sorry, she's fairly close to where Guan Yu is. Both of them are A5. Adea is doing less damage here. My thought about this is that we don't have Lady Mina anymore, and Lady Mina's Blood Sigil actually does extra damage based on, you know, what you are actually hitting alongside with her. So I think that's what's happening here. But rest of the units wise, I think the damage charts are fairly reasonable and in line with what we usually see. And yeah, that's basically it. So gear wise, didn't go too crazy. I think the only gears that I switched to crit damage means were for Guan Yu, as well as for Adea. The rest of the units, the gear was as per usual because they already have a pretty low base attack. So yeah, that's the showcase for her. And Matrix, I'm trying to also get more showcase of her in Codex as well, which the devs have requested for, but it's not up at the moment, so maybe I'll add it in, maybe I won't. So yeah, that's it for this segment.